So friends, let's do a Justice Matters video mashup today. Let's take on two topics. The first topic, will Donald Trump ever be charged for his federal tax crimes? And the second topic, how worried should we be that Merrick Garland decided to appoint a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden, who is a former Trump official? No, friends, you can't make this up. But let's talk about it, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, you ever get tired of the lawlessness, the crime, the indecency of our high government officials? I know, it's a silly question, a rhetorical question. It's a question that answers itself. Well, at this moment in our nation's history, we are all in this mess together. And, it's a mess that I'm not going to say was given birth by Donald Trump, but it was sure given voice by Donald Trump. Donald Trump unleashed the lawlessness, the hate, the prejudice, the indecency, the misogyny, the xenophobia, the homophobia, etc. And Trump's monster is now being raised and nurtured by so many, including lots of members of Congress. The Republican Party, as presently constituted, particularly in the House of Representatives, is not a party of governance. It's a party of grievance, a party of retaliation against their perceived enemies. It's the party of payback, not the party of the people. What a world. What a moment in our nation's history. But you know what, friends? We are all in this mess together. And together, I believe we're going to win. I believe decency is going to win. I believe democracy is going to win. Okay, with that less than uplifting preamble, let's turn to the topics for the day. Okay, friends, let's turn to the first topic, Donald Trump's tax fraud crimes. As I'm sure you heard, the Trump Organization, Donald Trump's criminal enterprise, was just sentenced after being convicted for more than a dozen crimes for running a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud, committing tons of tax fraud. And they were sentenced, Trump Organization was sentenced to a fine of $1.6 million. Whoop-dee-doo. It's a legal term. And as part of what we learned in connection with the prosecution of the Trump Organization, Alan Weisselberg, Donald Trump's longtime chief financial officer, was in on it. He pleaded guilty to being part of this 15-year-long criminal tax fraud scheme. Other high Trump Organization officials, according to the reporting, were in on it, were benefiting from it. And yet, there has not been a single criminal tax fraud charge brought against Donald Trump himself. Not a New York State charge, not a federal charge. And this generated some chatter, some posts, some tweets by some Team Justice members. And one of those tweets caught my attention. It is from Team Justice member whose handle is Cup of Joe in the D2. I get a kick out of that handle. And here's what Team Justice member Cup of Joe in the D2 tweeted. Now that the Trump Organization has been sentenced, it's up to DA Alvin Bragg or New York Attorney General Letitia James to charge Trump with state criminal charges. RICO and tax evasion would be a great way to start. Hashtag Justice Matters. I couldn't agree more, and here was my reply to Cup of Joe and the D2. I said, or better yet, can someone please explain, because I certainly can't, why the feds haven't charged Weisselberg, Trump, and the Trump Organization with federal tax fraud, the substance of which, those crimes, were just proved beyond a reasonable doubt in a New York State prosecution. Anyone? Need a little help here. And my reply got lots of great replies with your thoughts and your observations and your suggestions, your help. And I thank you all for that. And as I was going through the replies and the comments, I saw one explanation that I thought was maybe a leading candidate. Maybe this really was the reason we haven't seen federal tax charges for crimes that have virtually been proved beyond a reasonable doubt in the recent New York State prosecution. And the reply came from my friend Allison Gill of Mueller, She Wrote. And here is what Allison replied. She said, "The only thing I can think of was the Trump stooge, Rettig," that was the Trump-installed IRS Commissioner, Charles Rettig. "The Trump stooge, Rettig, who makes bank off Trump properties, was the IRS Commissioner until just this past November. He's gone now, so I can't think of a single reason, but maybe that delayed it?" Okay, I like Allison's explanation. Maybe the lack of federal charges is a product of Donald Trump having put a corrupt IRS Commissioner, Charles Rettig, in place. And remember, Rettig was the guy who refused to have the IRS perform the mandatory annual audits of a president's tax returns. And not only that, Rettig facilitated Donald Trump's lies to the American people. Donald Trump was forever saying, well, I'm under audit, so I can't release my tax returns. Well, he wasn't under audit because his corrupt IRS commissioner failed to have the IRS perform those annual audits of a sitting president. And Donald Trump got an assist from Rettig in his lies to the American people that he was under audit, so he couldn't release his tax returns. So now that Rettig is gone, maybe the feds really are preparing to charge Donald Trump for his obvious tax crimes. Friends, as a 30-year federal prosecutor, I so desperately want to believe that is what's about to happen. But we'll keep asking the question, until we get answers or until we get indictments. Okay, friends, second and final topic. Attorney General Merrick Garland just appointed Robert Hur to be the special counsel to investigate the Joe Biden classified documents incident. Who is Robert Hur? And perhaps as importantly, who is singing his praises? First of all, here's the reporting from the Washington Post about exactly who Robert Hur, the new special counsel, is. Who is Robert Hur, special counsel for Biden classified documents probe? And the article begins, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced Thursday that he had appointed Robert Hur, a former federal prosecutor and senior Justice Department official, to serve as a special counsel investigating the handling of classified documents found at a former office of President Biden and at his Delaware home. Robert Hur clerked for Chief Justice William Rehnquist. Robert Hur was a top Justice Department official during the Trump administration. Robert Hur is a registered Republican, according to Maryland voter records. In 2022, he contributed $500 to the unsuccessful Senate GOP primary bid of former Vermont U.S. Attorney Christina Nolan. Robert Hur worked as the Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General as an aide to Rod Rosenstein under President Donald Trump. Hur was a special assistant to Christopher Wray. And Trump tapped Robert Hur to lead the Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office. Friends, you see the pattern here? And who is it that is now singing the praises of Robert Hur? Well, remember this guy? Rod Rosenstein? The guy who stood behind Bill Barr, literally and figuratively, as Bill Barr lied to us all about the Mueller report in his attempt to cover up the crimes of Donald Trump. And it's not just me saying that. This is some of what was said by Federal District Court Judge Reggie Walton, himself a lifelong Republican appointed to the court over and over by Republican presidents. Here's what he said about Bill Barr. Judge calls Barr's handling of Mueller report distorted and misleading. Federal judge says he needs to review every Mueller report redaction because Barr can't be trusted. And yet Rosenstein went out on Fox Entertainment propping up Bill Barr's lies. Headline, Rod Rosenstein says it's completely bizarre to say William Barr is trying to mislead people on the Mueller report. And Rosenstein has gone from propping up Bill Barr's lies about the Mueller report to now propping up what a great choice Robert Hur is as special counsel. In terms of preparedness for the job, he understands it's going to be very unpleasant, and he recognizes the need to ignore the politics and focus on what matters. Well, friends, only time will tell whether newly appointed special counsel Robert Hur will be an honest, apolitical broker of the facts and the law, or if he will prove to be the new Ken Starr. Let's hope he proves to be the former and not the latter. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.